Well, the first thing that I should say is that this comes out of my own training. It was born from my own experience in holding circles for all these years. 35 years of circles, but 8 years, I think it is now, of holding circles with ceremonial breathwork, or using ceremonial breathwork as a tool. So I've done all sorts of experiments, and in the last 5 months actually have taken a group of people through a training. And it's from this very, very practical experience that the apprenticeship program has been born. And there are different ways of approaching this. What I discovered is that before you really start training, people need to go through a process of basic self-inquiry. I mean, for me, that happened with therapy many years ago, and analysis. But for an average person who's really, really interested in holding space for another group of human beings who are interested in deep transformation and self-healing, the first thing that has to happen is they have to know about themselves. What are my triggers? What are my structures? What are my belief systems? What are the things that cause me to have reactive behavior? Because all of those things, if they're unconscious, are going to interfere with you as a facilitator. It's as simple as that. It is a journey, and for me, when I did my training originally, I was really blown away by the journey of self-exploration. And so what we do is we do things like we talk about our conception. If our parents are still alive, we can ask them about that. They may be uncomfortable with talking about it, but it's really important. Like, people ask me, where was I born? And I go, well, hang on. I was born in London in a hospital, but I was made in Ireland. And I was able to ask my mum about it. It was a slightly embarrassing conversation. But I could see, even from my conception, there's a pattern that starts coming in. What my mum was doing while I was in her womb, I love my mother, but she wasn't exactly taking care of herself. The birth itself, some people have very easy birth. Mine, breech, premature, blood poisoning, put into a plastic box. So I'm going into this detail for people to get a little glimpse into, this is the kind of exploration we're talking about. And so we go through a process together before even the training starts, so that you can build up a picture of your patterns. And then you have to think back to your first 7 years. Very, very, very important, because the birth pattern could then explain what happens in your 7 years, and then from 7 to 14, 14 to 21, and so forth. And of course, you'll look at this and you'll go, oh my goodness, I see why. I've had difficulty in intimate relationships, or I become codependent. And I've always wanted to know why I get this visceral reaction from something that's seemingly insignificant. It's all of these kinds of things. It's fun, and can be very painful, by the way, I should say that. But the most important thing is that you gain self-knowledge. And then with that knowledge, we can start working together on self-healing, and then people say, oh, well, I had a really difficult childhood. Some people had gone through things, as I did, like sexual abuse. These are not easy things. However, with the right help and really, really being supported through a process of self-revelation, self-discovery, and self-healing, those very, very difficult parts of our past, or our birth, childhood, and so on, actually turn into gold. Because you then are able to kind of bear witness to that difficulty in another, and you become grateful for the lessons. And that's where forgiveness comes. It's where self-acceptance comes. It's where self-worth comes. All of it. So in and of itself, even if you just did the pre-training to the training, it's like really amazing. And it really helped me. It kind of saved my life, actually, because I had no idea why, frankly, I was such a mess. And by the way, I'm still on the self-healing journey. You know that. So it doesn't end, but with knowledge comes so much more clarity, and with it also huge compassion for others. And gosh, I would say that's probably the most important word, is to be present in a room when you're holding space for others or one person, having compassion and understanding, and also understanding ourselves enough to be able to differentiate what's mine, what's yours, and then have the capacity to hold space without interfering for someone else to go through what they need to go through. So that's the biggest part of the pre-training. There's also another process that I used to avoid, and it's called the presence process. It's a 10-week journey, and it is absolutely incredible. And I think what we'll do is we'll talk more about that later. But it's a 10-week process, again, of self-discovery, using the breath morning and night with a really detailed context, which again helps us really get to a deeper understanding of where we're at in ourselves, in our lives. And pretty much after that's done, with a few other there are some other exercises, but when that's done and you're feeling sort of secure and you're on the way, then you're ready to come and really start learning how to and experiencing what it is to hold space for other lovely human beings like yourself.
Amazing. And I guess the next thing that we can go into is a little bit about the course itself and the in-person time that people will spend with you.
Yes, okay. So I would say, okay, this is where this really started for me, when it started to get really interesting, believe it or not, was that rather strange thing that happened. I think it was in the early 20s. Was it the 20s that the pandemic-y thing happened? Well, I started to do a little breathing group online, and I was sort of, I had been doing the Alchemy of Breath, I think it's Sunday Breathe the Worlds, which were very, very inspiring. So a big shout out to Anthony for starting that, and actually for training and doing all of that, and having this big vision about what breathwork could mean for our world. So it's incredible that he started that. And from that, I started my own little group on a Tuesday, and I called it Ceremonial Breathwork Online. And to begin with, it was a very, very small group, but it started to grow, and I was very surprised about how effective it was online. And that led to getting really, really inspired about, this, just people gathering together and having this communal experience. I started then to do 3-day retreats when I finished that training, and alongside these Tuesday breathes. And I started to get a sense that there was something else happening, not just from the breathing technique. There was something in the circle, I would say. There was something about what happens when people do this, not just for themselves, but with a kind of a bigger idea kind of happening at the same time. A prayer, if you like, a ceremony for the new earth, I call it actually. And after I think it's 7 years now of doing lots of retreats and live circles and then the online circles, I came back here to Bali actually to sing. And I went into this shala called the Shiva Shala. Someone's having a good old brush out there, but that's okay. It's just life happening. And I was doing the circles as I've been doing for all of these years. And someone came to me and said, "Can I learn how to do this?" and a light came on. And so this is where the apprenticeship was born. So that's a little bit of the backstory. But the biggest thing of all was that it was the in-person stuff. It was the actual connection to human beings beyond the online work that really, really got me inspired. And it's like the more that I've done it in this last year, it was more and more people came to me and said, please, please, can I learn how to do this? I want to know how to do this. And so the most important aspect of the apprenticeship for me is to spend time in the rooms with people. So yes, we're going to learn all about the theory. It's really important. There's science, there's anatomy. There is, how do you prepare a space? The use of ceremonial objects. I mean, all of that, they're wonderful tools. But direct experience is what this apprenticeship is all about. It's the direct experience of yourself with other people. That's how it's been designed. Maybe I will, hey guys, they were slightly putting me off my stride. We can cut that bit out or we can keep it in. So the apprenticeship has been born out of my experience with the direct experience of this. So for me, for example, in my training, I learned more in the 10 days that I was in actual circles live with people than I did in the 7 months online. Although that was fantastic as well. I mean, it's really, really worthwhile. But it's actually being with someone like I'm with you now. Our nervous systems are feeling one another. We're actually communicating and we're seeing what arises. And all I can say is that what happens to people between, the beginning of the experience, whether it's 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or 5 months, something miraculous is going to happen. And for everybody, that's going to be different. But it's when you actually start breathing with a group of people, when you actually start observing, when you get yourself out of the way because you've already done the work and understand your own triggers and the fact that, you don't need to leave the judgments at the door or how to recenter yourself. And all you're doing is learning how to sit in presence with another human being without interfering with them. And that's where the indefinable magic happens. How do you teach that? Well, the fact of the matter is you have to turn up and go into the experience. And then we teach each other. The course itself becomes a kind of almost like self-organizing principle. And I'm discovering new things every circle, as you will, as we do, and then you're going to meet this other human being and you're going to go, oh my God, this person is quite extraordinary. They tend to be the quiet ones, sitting gently on the side. And for this apprenticeship, it's like I meet people who are so full of love. They have so much power coursing through their veins. And they tend to be humble people who maybe doubt themselves or doubt it. I call it it. But then when they go through this process, it's like all of those doubts, they just melt away because they start to see that it's actually really not them. It's coming through them. And that's what you will learn. Plus you'll get in, it'll be really fun because it's like you're going to go through the process of seeing how you develop from day one to the end of spending weeks helping people. And it doesn't take that long. And then, I'm whatever it is, 8 years in, and I'm discovering new things every day, every circle. And guess what? I'm as excited today. We're doing a circle later. I'm as excited today as I've ever been. Maybe I'm more excited, actually. It never stops. And then more people come in, more people learn, and they discover that actually they are the magic. So it's an apprenticeship to learn that you're magical, how to get into that beautiful heart of yours, how to melt the structures and the things that maybe are hindering you from stepping into your life's purpose. which I believe now is a common purpose. This course is about finding our common purpose, and ceremonial breathwork, or the breathwork technique, is a tool to help us have that experience, both for ourselves and then primarily to help other people go through their own self-healing journeys. And yeah, you're going to learn about so many different things, but also you're going to have a really good time with me, I hope, even when it's difficult.